Australian exporters are raising concerns a possible Trump administration could make it harder to send products to the United States. The former US president is promising to apply a 10% tariff to all imports if he is re-elected on November 6. But it is likely to be much worse for China. Joining me live is American Expertise Institute Senior Fellow Kyle Pomerleau. Kyle, thanks so much for your time. Trump's plan is to impose tariffs and lower taxes if he's successful in next week's election. So why does Trump want this, and does it make sense for America?
Yeah. A centerpiece of Trump's tax proposals or fiscal policy proposals is either a 10 or a 20% across the board tariff on all imported goods into the United States. And I can't overstate how significant this would be as a tax increase for Americans, but also something that would burden exporters in other countries. We've estimated here that this would burden households at as much as $3,000 on average per household. Now, his goal is to reduce the trade deficit and encourage manufacturing in the United States, but almost any economist would tell you that a tariff would not accomplish this goal, and at the end of the day would simply just reduce trade overall and make Americans and the rest of the world poorer.
So what would this mean for the world economy? Could it lead to a global recession, which is what some are fearing?
That's potentially an outcome here. So something that the Trump administration or the former Trump administration officials, the Trump campaign, seem to ignore or underplay is the chances of retaliation. Yes, Trump could enact a tariff this significant on countries, but other countries could act as a result of these tariffs and add additional taxes on this economic activity, which could end up harming the economy throughout the world and could push us towards a global recession.
Yeah, because we have had those problems with supply chains post-COVID as well. Is that likely to impact inflation and also potentially interest rates?
It's a possibility as well. So like any other tax, this is going to increase the cost for households. It's going to reduce profits for producers, and it's going to have a negative impact on people's well-being. Now, does that play out as higher prices or lower profits and wages? It's not clear. It's going to depend on how central banks, both in the United States and throughout the rest of the world, react to such tax policy.
Australia, in particular, didn't have a problem in the last Trump presidency. Would Australia be immune from Trump tariffs this time around?
So one thing that's different this time around is the magnitude of the tax increases. The previous Trump tariffs were, although not perfectly targeted, somewhat targeted certain products, certain countries. This would be an across-the-board tariff that would apply to any country, any good that comes into the United States. So I don't think that Australia is going to, I think that Australia potentially is harmed more this time around than last time around.
Some economists are saying that Kamala Harris's policies are inflationary as well. Do you agree with that?
Again, it's not necessarily the case that any given tax policy is going to be inflationary. Now, there are some pretty big problems with Harris's tax proposals as well. A lot of them are simply unrealistic, too complicated, and some would also harm the U.S. economy. And another big problem, and this is both with Harris's fiscal policies and Trump's fiscal policies, is that both of them would significantly increase the budget deficit in the United States. And in the U.S., if the Federal Reserve does not raise interest rates in response, that could lead to additional inflation. And that's politically costly for whoever's in the White House, given the fact that we just got over with a run-up in prices in the United States that just seem to be cooling off. I think another burst of inflation would have some costs there as well.
Kyle Pomerleau, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.